This week we're drawing an asymmetrical holiday border, packed with festive foliage. For this project, we'll only be using 2 brushes, my free monoweight brush for all the foliage details, and my Inky Edge Pro brush for my beautiful lettering brush set for the lettering. The color palette is free as always. Just hit the link in the video description and you can download and install it. I'm going to start by creating a brand new canvas. I've listed my specs on screen, and let's begin. Okay, I've got my brand new canvas, and the first thing I'm going to do is start drawing my border. Since this is a really dark background, it's a little easier to see things as they begin on a white background. What I'm going to do is on this very first layer, I'm going to switch my color to the lightest tan color. So it's the first one at the very top. I have my free monoweight brush selected. The size is about 10%. This first element's going to start down here, so it's going to kind of come up like this. And then we're going to make an even longer one come up and bleed off the very top. So I keep my hand stationary, so I set it right on the screen, and then I just move my wrist so I get a really nice curve all at once. And then what I'm going to do is just draw some basic leaf shapes off of each one of these, and I'm alternating sides. I'm drawing these a little bit larger than even I'm comfortable with, but this is our largest element with all of this foliage, so don't be scared to draw them a little bigger than what you're probably used to. And now we're going to fill these in, so just drag your color over and then hit continue filling with recolor, and you'll have these crosshairs right here. So we're going to drag this over until we find the middle, and if it's flashing like this, just reduce the flood level down here. So I'm coming down to about 90%, and then move these crosshairs right in there, and that'll fill it in, and then I can just tap inside of the other ones, and that'll fill them in nice and quick. And then just tap on the magic wand up here to deselect. All right, now that we have our large leaves in here, now I'm going to add in some supporting elements behind it. So I'm going to create a brand new layer, drag it underneath that layer that we just created, and I'm going to switch to this next darkest tan color. So it's the second one on the top row. And I'm going to reduce the size of my brush just slightly. I'm going to come down to 8%, and these ones are going to be considerably smaller, and they're just going to follow the same direction around, but there's going to be more of them, and they're going to be in the background. So these are going to come up. I'm just going to show you what these look like first before I draw them all. So what I do when I draw these is I draw and then do a loop, come up, and just keep making it like this, and I can kind of control the curve that it ends up in as I come around. So this is the shape. And then I can either end it with 1 or end it with 2 up here. So that's the element that I'm drawing, only I'm going to draw it much smaller down here. Actually, I'm going to bring my size down even more, about 6%. And if you go behind leaves where you can't see things, you can either turn that top layer off so you can see it better, but I like using it as a guide, and they're going to be hidden anyway, so it doesn't really matter what goes on behind them. So it's totally up to you. Once you have those in there, now let's create a brand new layer. And we're going to paint in our holly leaves next. So I'm going to grab this third color on the second row. I'm going to place these wherever I see gaps, and this is definitely a tertiary element, so it's the third most important element because we're about to fill this out with a bunch of little evergreen branches and berries. So those are going to be our small supporting elements, so we want to make sure we're calling attention to these big leaves, these background leaves, and the holly leaves. So don't be afraid of keeping these at a pretty large size as well. So these ones are a little more complicated to draw, but after you draw a few of them, you'll get the hang of it, and you want to vary up the scale of them. So don't make them all the same size. So it's 3 curves and then come down and just replicate the same shape. And I will put 2 of them together like that, and then I'll leave 1 flying solo here and there. Okay, once you have your holly leaves in, let's add in some berries. So create a brand new layer, and I'm going to grab my lightest red color, and my size is about 15%, and I'm just going to put some dots in sporadic places all the way around. Okay, create a brand new layer, switch to the darker red color, and reduce the size of that one to about 10%. Let's add in our dark background now. So tap on the background color layer and select the first color on the second row, and now you can see everything's starting to come to life. So for this large leaf element, so it doesn't look so solid and calling too much attention and just not having any detail at all, we're going to add in some detail now to the leaves. So come to that layer, that main layer, and create a brand new layer right above it. And we're going to select the same color as our background color. And we still have the same brush selected. And I'm going to come down to about 3% and just draw a curved line through the leaf and then alternating lines to create that leaf veining here. And you can already see if you zoom out how much nicer this looks because we've added a little detail to it. Okay, now that we have those details in, let's also add some details to our holly leaves. So I'm going to come to my holly leaf layer and create a brand new layer right above it and just reduce my brush size down to 2% for these ones, and this one's just going to have a line straight through it. And now just to brighten everything up, we're going to add in some pine branches. And these pine details can go right above the layer that we just completed, the details on the holly leaves. So I'm just going to create a brand new layer. So these ones will be behind the berries and this large leaf element, but in front of everything else. So I've got that light blue color selected. This brush size is going to go up to 3%. And wherever we have gaps, we're just going to draw in a line, and then these will get progressively larger, the needles, as they come down. And they're going to be really, really simple. So don't put too many on there because we want all of these elements to be very solid and strong. And we're also going to add in some white versions of these. So don't try and fill in all the gaps here. We want to still have some gaps available to us to put in the white ones. Okay, I've got my blue pine branches in, so now I'm going to add in some white ones. So create a brand new layer, switch to our white, and do the exact same thing, filling in any remaining gaps. The last thing we have to do is add in our lettering. So I'm going to create a brand new layer at the very top. I'm going to switch to my beautiful lettering brush set and grab the Inky Edge Pro brush. And if it helps, it always helps me to have some guidelines so I can write straight. So I'm going to hit the wrench, choose Canvas, Drawing Guide, Edit Drawing Guide, and then just grab the white over here so it'll actually appear for me, and then hit Done. And now I can letter out my message. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please hit the like button, subscribe, and I will see you next week.